Thank you. What is mindset? Does anyone want to take a crack at that? No? All right, no worries. Mindset are the deeply held beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions about who we are, how the world works, what we are capable of and deserve, and what is possible. My name is Ryan Straschnitzki. I'm a former Humboldt Bronco, founder of the Strong Foundation, and a hopeful Paralympian in the future. And today I'm here to share a little bit about my story, some of the challenges and adversity that I've faced thus far, and how I had to develop the right mindset to help me overcome each and every one of those obstacles, and how anyone can apply the same principles when they find themselves going through adversity as well. Now, in saying that, I want to start off with a quote. When one door closes, another one opens, but we often look so long and regretfully at the closed ones that we fail to see the ones that which open for us. How many of you have heard this quote before? So a couple, all right. The first time I heard this quote, I was just 13 years old. I'd moved to a new city in Airdrie, Alberta, and I was trying out for the Bantam AA hockey team. I thought this is going to be a huge, pivotal moment in my life and get me one step closer to reaching my goal of playing pro hockey someday. I remember showing up to the rink on the first day of tryouts, not recognizing the environment, not recognizing any faces, feeling sort of nervous, but going in with the mentality that if I could work hard enough and make this team, all my problems would disappear. So we did our first ice time, and I remember sitting in the dressing room afterwards looking around thinking, wow, these guys are good. I'm gonna have to step it up. And as I start untying my skates, the coach comes in and calls me and 4 other players out to his office. I was in the back of the line. Now, as the first player went in, he ends up getting cut from the team, which means he's released, he's not trying out anymore. The second player got cut. Third player got cut. Fourth player got cut. Right? I'm up next. And if I'm any good at patterns, I realize I'm probably getting cut. So I'm almost dreading what's about to happen. And I go in and I sit down and the coach goes, hey Ryan, nice to meet you, I'm Coach so-and-so. We just want to say you did awesome out there. We love the way you skate, the way you play. We think you could be a great asset to this team and help us win. Instantly, I'm sort of speechless. I mean, this isn't something you normally hear after your first ice time. So, I shook his hand and left his office before he could change his mind. I went home, I told my parents, we celebrated a little bit, but we knew we had many more rounds of tryouts to go. So ice time after ice time, I continued to hear this positive reinforcement from the coaches. Hey, Straz, good job out there. Love the energy, keep it up. Things like that. This continued until final cut day. Now, for those of you that are or were athletes or have kids going through this process, you'll understand how nerve-wracking and exciting final cut day is, right? The do or die day, you either make it or you don't. After our final ice time, we were all lined up outside the coach's office, and once again, I'm in the back of the line. And as I'm watching this line shrink, I see players going in, making the team, getting cut, and during this time, I'm thinking, what number am I gonna be? Am I gonna be power play, penalty kill, right? What sort of opportunities are gonna come from making this team? As I'm thinking this, I see one defenseman make it, another one, and another one. 4 spots taken, 2 spots left, 3 defensemen left in line. Myself, the person in front of me, and the person behind me. So naturally, I'm gonna size myself up to see who my potential teammates are gonna be. And I remember turning around and looking up at this kid and thinking, what are his parents feeding him? This kid is scary, right? Like, thank God he's on my team. So I turn around, right, and I look at the kid in front of me and I thought, better luck next year, right? Like, sorry for, not making the team. It's then his turn to go in. The door closes and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. Just then the door handle turns, opens, and he steps out and he has a blank expression to his face. All of a sudden, he goes to hang out with every other person that made the team that year. Now, maybe some of you can relate to this feeling of your heart and your stomach sort of dropping, that oh no moment where something isn't right. It's exactly how I felt. And I slowly made my way into the coach's office. I sat down, the coach goes, hey Ryan, you had a good tryout, but we're not gonna take you this year. He continued to talk, but I failed to listen, as I was too busy holding back tears of anger, frustration, and sadness. I then shook his hand, left the office, put the hockey bag over my shoulder, and looked at every other person that made the team that year. I then had to go into the parking lot and tell my dad the news. It was a quiet ride home. Now, as my dad recalls, as soon as we got home and I went to air out my hockey gear, he witnessed an elbow pad, a shin pad, and a helmet go flying right past his head onto the road. I was freaking out. I was so angry. I was done with hockey. Eventually, he calmed me down, and he goes, look, son, when one door closes, another one opens. Now at the time, I thought, thanks, Dad, for your old man wisdom. I don't need to hear this. And I went up to my room and I pouted. Now, over the course of the next few days, I started to sink into what is called the fixed mindset. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with what a fixed mindset is versus growth mindset, I'll quickly explain. Those with a fixed mindset believe that whatever you were born with, skills, talents, attributes, and abilities are unchangeable no matter how much work you put into them. Now, an example of this would be after I got cut, right, I lacked passion for the game, motivation. I thought there was no way I could reach my goal now. And it sucked, right? It weighed on me. Something needed to change if I was going to keep my dream alive. So I asked myself the question, how? How can I get better both on and off the ice? How can I keep my dream or make my dream become a reality? Where's this open door and how do I find it? This was the start of the development of the growth mindset. Now, the growth mindset is understanding your abilities, your talents, and your limitations, but knowing that through hard work, perseverance, and the ability to learn from a diversity of mistakes, you can overcome and you can succeed. Now, what this entailed me doing as a 13-year-old does in my era was some heavy research on YouTube, right? Looking at what all the best players in the world are doing. Your Crosbys, your Jonathan Taves, right? Seeing their drills that they're doing both on and off the ice. And as I would watch these videos, I would slowly implement them into my lifestyle, into my daily routine. And slowly over time, I saw improvement, right? I was playing better, I was improving, I was getting stronger. And the more I saw improvement, the more my work ethic increased, right? It was like a continual pattern. Improvement, work harder, improvement, work harder. And in the years leading up to 2015, I'd been to multiple junior camps, WHL camps, played with and against some of the top talent from across the nation. And at that point, I understood what it took to get to that next level. If I was going to play junior A hockey and get closer to playing pro hockey, I was going to have to develop at the highest level of minor hockey that I could, U18 AAA. So after a summer of training, I signed up for a team called the Strathmore Bisons. They're not around anymore, but at the time they were pretty well known. Right, a big draw zone, so they had 600-700 kids trying out every year. I remember showing up once again after summer of training, going to the rink, not really recognizing it, not recognizing any faces, once again nervous, but knowing once again that if I can work hard enough and make this team, all those problems would disappear. So we did our first ice time, and I'm sitting in the room looking around thinking, damn, these guys are good. Right, I'm gonna have to step it up. As I'm leaving the rink on the first day, the coach walks by and says, hey, Straz, good job out there. All right, it's a good start. All right, after the second ice time, hey, Straz, love the energy. All right, things are looking good. After only the third ice time, he called me into his office. I sat down in front of him. He has two assistant coaches beside him. And he goes, hey, Straz, you're doing good out there, but I'm gonna let you know right now we're not gonna take you this year. I was like, well, what do you mean? He says, we're looking for older, more experienced defensemen because we want to win. You're just too young to play here. Oof, I was mad. I wanted to say a few things that I probably shouldn't repeat here. Let him have it. But I held back, took my release form, and went out to the parking lot where once again I had to tell my dad the news. Another long, quiet ride home where I'm sitting with my thoughts, right, thinking a million miles an hour. Right, where's the next open door, right? This can't be the end of my hockey career. I gotta find some other opportunity. I had no options. My last resort was to call the president of the league, right, the guy with the most power that can change this. I told him the situation and begged for a second chance. I asked if any of the teams were looking for defensemen. Day goes by, and I get a call back. Hey, Ryan, the Leduc Oil Kings are looking for a defenseman. Do you want to take this opportunity? Without hesitation, I said yes. He said, all right, here's the catch. You have a one-day tryout. If you make it, congrats, but if you don't, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Right, at this point, I got nothing to lose. So the following day after school, I pack my bags, head up north with my dad, and go through this long, annoying tryout process one more time. It's my last shot. I leave everything out on the ice that day. Afterwards, the coaches pulled me out to the hallway, said, hey, Ryan, good job out there, but give us a few days. We have some decisions to make. We're going to let you know if you made the team or not. In my head, I'm thinking, great, right? The level of uncertainty is stressing me out. I just want to know that my hard work is paid off. But until then, I'm going to have to wait. So I remember the next day not hearing anything. The second day, didn't hear a thing. Third day starts and make it all the way to the lunch bell in school, thinking, well, these guys don't want me. So being in a bit of a mood, I thought, you know, what's going to fix this is a couple footlongs from Subway. So go to Subway and demolish the first one. And as I'm getting ready to get into the second one, I get a text. It's from the coach. Congratulations, Ryan, you've made the team. You're moving in with a teammate this weekend. my head, I'm thinking, yes, all right, 16 years old, moving away from home, no adults, no rules, this is sick. And the first 2 days were great, right? I'm thinking, all right, I'm getting used to everything, this is exciting. But after only about a week and a half, I called my dad. And I was like, Dad, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, well, what do you mean? The schedule's too hard. I feel like I don't fit in. I feel like I'm falling behind. And worst of all, I have to be an Edmonton Oilers fan when I'm up here. And he goes, look, son, I get it. But this is what it takes, right? If you want to make it to that next level, you have to embrace the uncomfortable times. Continue to show up. Whether it's a good day or a bad day, continue to show up. That is half the battle. So I said, all right, Dad, you know what? Took your old man wisdom once, I'll take it again. And I hung up the phone. And that was the last conversation we ever had about that. From that point forward, whether I had a good day, a bad day, whether I felt like laying in bed just a couple more hours, I had to muster up the courage to at least show up to the rink for practice, for games, to the gym. Wherever I could show up and put as much effort as I could into whatever it was that I was doing meant that I was improving and I was staying consistent. And as soon as I started doing that, I slowly got acclimated to the process of living away from home and being involved in the hockey community in this sense. And as I continued doing this, I saw nothing but improvement one more time. That entire year, I learned a lot, both as an individual and as an athlete. Now at this point, I'm 17 years old. I thought, you know what, I want to develop one more time. Right, I got to really make sure I'm ready for junior hockey. So I went back for one more season, and as soon as it started, I got right into the process, going to the rink, going to the gym, putting in the extra work where I can, just really showcase my skills and be prepared for junior hockey the next year. And I'm thinking in my head, you know what, junior hockey is a goal, but I'm in Leduc right now, I got to try and win a championship. There's no better feeling than winning. I want to show that all my hard work is paid off. So we got geared up for playoff hockey. We played round 1, and we won. Round 2, we won again. Round 3, we're in the North Final against the Sherwood Park Kings, a team that was, had a lot of high draft picks, right? And not a team that we ever beat throughout the season. But for whatever reason, we clicked and we ended up sweeping them. They didn't get a single win against us. But now our team is off to the finals against the team that caught me when I was 16 years old, the Strathmore Bisons. Yeah, oh yeah. I remember getting texts, phone calls, messages from friends I had on that team. Right, we're gonna kick your ass, you guys suck, things like that. And maybe some of you have seen the Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix called The Last Dance, where he's doing an interview. He mentions taking something a little personally and flipping a switch and leading his team to a championship. Well, I took that personally, and I made sure I was gonna do everything I could to not let these guys win. So game 1, we ended up winning. Game 2, we won again. We just have to win one more and we win the championship. We're in their home arena, or their barn, as we like to call it in the hockey community. We're in overtime. The defenseman shoots the puck from the blue line, hits a shin pad and goes in. They take game 3. That's all right. Game 4 is in Leduc. We could win it in our home barn. And we just barely beat these guys. I got to wear the hat, the medal, hold up the banner right in front of that coach's face. Pretty sure I saw him tear up. It was awesome. And now our team was off to TELUS Cup, the biggest platform for 5 teams in the entire nation to play for #1 spot in U18 AAA. Now, unfortunately, we didn't end up where we wanted to. We had a lot of exposure to junior scouts, college scouts, and even some pro scouts. And now we had decisions to make, right? Was I going to go to the WHL? Was I going to go to BC, to the States, right? And, my mom was kind of encouraging me to stay in Alberta because she didn't want to see her boy go anywhere past Alberta. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to sign my letter of intent with the Whitecourt Wolverines in the AJHL. So I signed my letter of intent, went through a summer of training, and showed up to the rink after getting ready for training camp. I remember going inside, kind of smelling the ice, thinking like, right, this is going to be the next 2.5 years of my life. I can't wait. After 3 games, we're in Whitecourt and we're ready to head for a long South road trip. And we pack our bags, load the bus, and just as I'm about to get on, the coach calls me into his office. So I go in and he says, hey, Straz, we made a trade last night. I thought, uh-oh. He says, you're going to Saskatchewan. My eyes lit up and I crossed my fingers. I'm like, don't be Laurent, don't be Flin Flon. Yes, they do have junior teams, I swear. Those are real towns. And he says, you're going to Humboldt to play for the Broncos. Throughout my entire life, I never ended up where I wanted to. It seemed like I always had to take the path less traveled and truly instill a growth mindset if I was to succeed in any given environment. This is what ultimately led me to the start of my junior A career in Humboldt. Now, for those of you that haven't been out to Saskatchewan before, I'll kind of illustrate what my first time was like. I remember crossing the border, and after that, looking at valleys and valleys of grass, right? Every radio station's playing country. I felt like I was going crazy. But after 6 hours, I finally made it to Humboldt. Right? I remember driving down one of the two main roads. On the left, there was a strip mall, a hotel. On the right, there was a Sobeys, a Boston Pizza, a Tim Hortons. And just off in the distance, you could see the staple of Humboldt, the giant hockey rink attached to the high school. I remember pulling into the parking lot, going through the players' entrance, but before going down to meet everyone, I went up top, looked at the stands, the ice surface, the Jumbotron, and just imagined a Friday night where the entire town rallies for the Broncos to win. Right, I was excited and I was ready to play. I then went down to the locker room, met some of the trainers, coaching staff, some of my teammates. Afterwards, I remember going to my stall and seeing my name bar there, but there's no hockey gear. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna grab it at practice tomorrow. Just then the trainer pulled me out the hallway, and she took me out to this giant wooden box with a padlock on it. She opens up the lock, lifts up the lid, and says, pick out what fits. So I kind of looked down, and I remember pulling out these gloves. They had holes in them, they were crusty. I realized they'd been worn by players seasons before. So I'm like, all right, this is a good start. The next were the pants. Rips in them, holes in them. But the worst, and if any of you are familiar with hockey gear, you know the old Marc Messier M11 helmets, right? They got discontinued in 2012 for being deemed unsafe. So that was the start of my junior career. So I loaded up, I got ready for practice the next day. Just as I'm leaving the ice after practice the following day, Darcy Hogan kind of pulls me out to the side. I'm thinking, what's going on? And the reason I remember this conversation so much was because he didn't really talk about hockey at all. He talked all about individuality, sort of character questions that, as an 18-year-old, you fail to think about sometimes. He'd ask questions about my involvement within the community, how I plan to make my teammates better, what I plan to do to make everyone around me better. Right? And at the start, I'm thinking, why is he asking me this? Right? I'm here to play hockey. I'm here to win. I'm here to get to the next level. But as he would ask me these questions periodically throughout the season, I slowly realized that he was trying to instill leadership qualities within each and every one of his players. He wanted a group of like-minded individuals to work towards a common goal of winning a championship. He was a firm believer that the mindset that you carried and the person that you are will take you farther than anything else you do in life. Right? I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Like, the person that you are and the mindset that you carry will take you farther than anything else you do in life. And I would think about that, right? And there was no better way to test this hypothesis than by trying to win a championship and bringing it back to Humboldt. So we got geared up to play playoff hockey one more time. So we started by playing round one against our rivals, the Melfort Mustangs. And we ended up beating them. Now we're off to the semifinals against the Nipawin Hawks, a team we hadn't beat all year. But we were ready, we were prepared, we had a lot of energy, ready to go in. We didn't start too hot. Right, as soon as the series started, we were down 2-0. Right? Game 3 is in Humboldt. We have to win this one, otherwise it's not looking good. And we just barely beat these guys. Now the series is 2-1 for Nipawin. Game 4 is in Humboldt. We have a chance to tie the series. We're in overtime. We're tied, right? Overtime number 1, still tied. Overtime number 2, still tied. We're going to overtime number 3. Almost 2 full games in the span of one night, right? We're exhausted. We just want someone to score so we can go home, right? Go for game 5 in Nipawin. So we're in overtime number 3. We ended up getting a penalty, and they scored on the power play. Now we're down 3-1. Next game's in Nipawin, game 5. It's a do-or-die game. If we lose, we're heading home. But if we win, we have a chance to play for game 7. And this was just like any other game day. You get up early, go to the rink for morning skate, get loosened up, crack some jokes with the guys, right? Get prepared, get focused up. Afterwards, you go for breakfast, go back to your billet house, rest up. Later, you head to the rink, pack your bags, load the bus, and you're off. Now, when you're about 20 to 30 minutes outside of the opposing team's city, you throw on your dress clothes, right? Put in your headphones, read a book, do whatever it is that you do to focus up. And that's exactly what I did. I remember sitting there and everything's quiet. Just then I hear a scream from the front of the bus. I poked my head down the aisle. The bus driver has both his hands on the wheel, and he's looking to his right. Within an instant, I see a semi-truck coming our way. And just like that, everything's black. Now, I don't know how much long after I woke up, but I remember leaning up against the semi-truck, looking around at all the mayhem in front of me. My first instinct was to get up, and I go to move, and I'm stuck. I go to move one more time, and I'm still stuck. I'm thinking I have to move whatever it is that's holding me down. And I look down, there's nothing there except my legs in front of me. Instantly, I know something's wrong. My next instinct is to yell for help. With the injuries I sustained to my lungs and my head, I wasn't able to do that either. So now as an 18-year-old kid with these injuries, unable to help myself, going in and out of consciousness, I'm thinking, are these gonna be my last moments? So I'm waiting in and out of consciousness, thinking, a million miles an hour, what's wrong, what's going on, all these questions that I didn't have the answer to. Eventually, a bystander came by and waited with me until the paramedics arrived, where I got loaded up into an ambulance and taken to the nearest hospital in Tisdale, Saskatchewan. I then woke up to a nurse standing over me saying, "Sir, don't move. We think you sustained an injury to your back, right? We need you to stay still. We're gonna have to figure out a way to get you to the University of Saskatchewan Hospital so we can scan you and assess the damage." I then had to wait. I got loaded up into a STARS ambulance helicopter, taken to the University of Saskatchewan Hospital, taken for all the scans, and placed in an emergency room where I was told I would need spinal cord surgery the following day. I remember thinking to myself, the doctors are gonna fix everything. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go through the surgery and we're gonna recover from this. Now, I don't know how much long after the next day I woke up, but I remember seeing my friends, childhood friends, family, visitors coming in and out, giving me words of encouragement, right, trying to wrap my head around what just happened. I remember the doctors coming in, telling me that I had a less than 2% chance of walking again. Right, I was devastated. I just went from being an elite athlete on my way to play pro hockey, to now being told I might never walk again. Right, I didn't know what was next. I was stuck in this hospital bed, just with my thoughts. So as the days went on, my body started to recover. I thought, what's something that has always gotten me through adversity, right? The hard times. Well, it was my mindset, right? At this point, this is all I had was my mindset. So I thought, how can I apply that to this situation? Well, right, I could set goals for myself. So I made a promise that when I was healed and healthy enough, right, when I get out of here, right, I'm gonna go into physiotherapy, right, to regain the hope of walking again. I was gonna get back into sport because it taught me so much both on and off the ice. And any other goal I set for myself, I know that with the right work ethic and mindset, it can be achieved, right? And throughout this process of thinking to myself, right, I'm just getting like this fuel, this energy, this spark inside me, right, to want to chase these dreams. Thinking like, I'm trying to label this. What is this component? What is this feeling I'm having? And I think this unlabeled component is something that a lot of us have. It's what gets us out of bed every morning. It's what gets us that extra rep in the gym or doing that piece of work that we need to get done, right? Get us closer to our goals. That extra component is motivation. Motivation is the reason for taking action. It is the energy required to behave in a particular way. As an example, my motivation was for the loss of my teammates and coaching staff, was for the doctors telling me that I'd never walk again, and was to prove to myself that no matter the situation that I'm in, I'm more than capable of achieving my goals. And when times got tough, I would repeat that to myself, right? No matter the situation that I'm in, I'm more than capable of achieving my goals. This led me to my first ever physiotherapy session. I got the green light from the doctors, right? I wasn't strong enough to load myself into the hospital chair yet, so they had this crane-like fixture come up from the hospital room, pick me up, place me in the chair, where I got wheeled down to the nearest physio clinic, where a different crane picked me up, put me down on the mat, and as soon as it released tension, I fell back and I hit my head. I'm thinking, whoa, what just happened? And the physiotherapist lifted me up, and she said, "Hey, Ryan, with the level of your spinal injury, you don't have core muscles to help keep you stabilized. So believe it or not, the way you guys are all sitting right now, right, you're using your core muscles, whether you think about it or not. I didn't have that anymore." She's like, your upper back, your upper chest, and your shoulders and arms are now your core and your legs. That was lesson number one. The next thing that they had me do was sit on the edge of the bed to work on balance. They held out this like piece of paper-like thing right in front of me, and the instructions I got were, just touch it. I thought, easy enough, this is easy, right? I'm an athlete, I can do this. And they held out in front of me, and I go to reach and I miss. Go to reach and I miss. I'd fall over and I'd miss, and I'd fall over and miss, and just getting more angry each and every time I couldn't touch this stupid piece of paper, right? That entire session, I never touched it. So after the session was over, I got lifted up by the crane, placed in my hospital room, laying in bed, just thinking, right, about that stupid piece of paper, right? I'm so determined to touch it. So the next day, the crane picks me up, right? I get wheeled down, different crane places me down. I brace myself this time. And they held the piece of paper out in front of me. Like, all right, just touch it. All right, I'm staring at this thing, I'm focusing. I go to reach and I miss. And on the fourth try, I threw everything I could. I barely touched the piece of paper, just barely. They said, all right, Ryan, good job, let's move on. I said, no, move it further. They kind of looked at me like, okay. So they moved it further. I missed, and I barely touch it. And I'm like, further, right? This continued until it was physically impossible to touch. And as I had that ingrained in my mind, right, of pushing myself outside my comfort zone, right, staying consistent, continuing to work hard, I thought, all right, what else can I do? And as I started working on that, I started to do more and more advanced exercises, which you'll see in these next clips. This first clip is about 1.5 years after the accident, where I went to Thailand for some experimental surgery to help me move muscles below my injury.
Down slow, can you make it down slow? Down. Good. Up. From that deep.
So from that point, right, of being able to work on muscles and trying to regain some neural pathways and function, I started to do advanced exercises like the next one, where I'm in a walking apparatus that holds my body weight and allows me to focus on the walking muscles in the right way.
Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
In this last clip, right, it's one of the hardest things that I have to do. Now I'm holding my body weight with the walker and focusing on the walking movements at the same time.
And push. There we go. Okay. All right, off the bat, it feels like you got a lot of weight in your legs, so that's great.
So I'm very fortunate enough to be working with a great rehab clinic called Synaptic in Calgary. And the trainers are encouraging, and their goal, as much as is my goal, is to use less and less assistance each and every time I try to walk. So with continued work with the epidural stimulation device from Thailand and continued work at physio, we're hoping to use less and less assistance each and every time. Right? Physio is great, but at the end of the day, I'm an athlete. Right? I got to get back into sport. It taught me so much both on and off the ice. Right? It was just a part of my identity. I couldn't let that dream die. So I knew that hockey wasn't going to be an option. The next best thing is sled hockey. Right? How many of you are familiar with that sport? Oh, wow. All right. That's awesome. So I encourage you, if you don't know anything about the sport, well, watch a game. It's very violent, very fun. Try it if you want. So 4 months after the accident, I got in touch with the right people, and I got to go back onto the ice with friends and family in a sled. And it was like waking up on Christmas morning. None of my problems mattered, just out there enjoying the moment. And from that point, something, another spark, another fire ignited inside of me. I thought, how far can I take this? Well, I can try and make Team Canada. Let's go further than that. Let's try and be a Paralympian. And let's try and win a gold medal, right? Like, the thoughts keep building and building, and you're just so motivated and determined to do it. So after that first ice time, I asked, when can I do it again? Right, getting on the ice. I thought, okay, I got to start working out again. Everything that I learned from hockey, I'm applying to now sled hockey, and you'll sort of get to see the improvement of my sled hockey career from the first time to 1.5 years after to where I'm at currently. So this is 4 months after the accident.
I'll change here and hold you.
So from there, right, after continued work, this next clip is about 1.5 years after the first one. So since then, I've been able to represent Canada at the development stage and been to multiple training camps and tryouts with the Paralympic team as well. So through continued work, we're hoping to make that dream become a reality. Now, I like to joke, what kind of hockey player would it be if I didn't play golf as well? So this first clip is me golfing out of my chair for the first time.
There we go.
Right, and I fell in love with the sport all over again. I'm thinking, how can I play this, with friends? How can I actually play the sport? So a year after that video, we had access to some technology that now allows me to stand in what's called a paragolfer and drive around like a golf cart, stand, play just regularly. So I'm out there with friends and working on that score a little bit. So through consistent effort, we're hoping to try as many adaptive sports as we can and kind of not let our mindset limit us to where we can go with certain things. So we're going to continue playing all sorts of sports and growing them and making that Paralympic dream become a reality. So something that always resonated with me from the start was that talk I had with Darcy Hogan, right, the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos. I thought, well, how can I better the community? How can I help those around me? So with that in mind, and throughout this new journey that I was going through with adaptive sports and rehabilitation, I thought, well, how can I benefit those people in my circle, the people that I know right now, to help them reach their goals and find their open doors? So I decided to start the Strong Foundation to give back to those with both mental and physical disabilities a better quality of life through adaptive sport and rehabilitation funding. So with that in mind, I thought, where do we start? Well, a lot of the things that I do through social media, through commercials, through all the training videos that I do, we want to encourage people to be involved so that they too can find their ignition, their spark inside them to reach their goals. So this next clip is sort of a snippet of the things that we get to do behind the scenes that we want to bring to the community to raise awareness and better the lives of those around us. So I could also sit up here and say that I did it all myself, right? Through my entire life, up until this point, I did it all myself, but that's not possible, right? I relied on support groups heavily. My parents, right? Especially my dad, right? My friends, my families, coaches and mentors, everyone. I have a sort of a small circle that allows me to utilize them to help me reach my goals, right? They want the best for me and I want the best for them. So in this last clip is sort of an insight to my close circle of those encouraging me to reach my goals. And when you watch this video, I want you to think about your support groups, right? The people closest to your lives and how much they impact you to help you reach your goals and how much support and love you feel from them. So this is a sort of a clip of my support group.
Breaking news coming out of Saskatchewan, Canada. A bus carrying a junior hockey league team has collided with a semi-trailer. There may be as many as 16 fatalities. The bus was carrying players and team personnel for the Humboldt Broncos.
I got a text from a buddy of mine, and he goes, there was an accident, bus involving a junior A team. We don't know what's going on. And then he goes, Tom, it's pretty serious. We walked through the ICU. It was just carnage. Everyone's face was swelled up, and you couldn't tell who was who.
We heard that Ryan was alive. We didn't know what kind of condition he was in. We didn't have any clue.
So we get in there, and then he looked at me and goes, who won the sled hockey? Did Canada win? I went, well, pal, we talked about that a couple months before. I said, Canada lost 2-1. And then he kind of looked at Michelle, then he looked at me, and he goes, I think when I get out of here, I want to try sled hockey and see if I can make the Team Canada.
I'm Ryan Straschnitzki, I'm 20 years old, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. You know, hockey is my whole life, and had dreams to play, you know, possibly pro hockey at some point, but yeah, I knew right away I just wanted to get back on the ice and, you know, get away from everything for a little bit.
Nice. Oh, you're flat.
You know, I'm lucky enough to have a mentor and people all around in the sledge hockey community that are helping me out.
Shortly after the accident, after hearing that he wanted to play sledge hockey, you know, we've had a lot of parallels within our story in being an elite athlete, and it was something I was able to reach out to his parents, and things just taken off from there. You know, I've never seen anybody get into a sled as fast as he has. The first time we had him out on a sled, he was out in a crazy high back sled. I mean, obviously it was his first time in a sled, but to see what he's doing now, I mean, he's learning advanced techniques. There we go, that's better.
You know, in stand-up, you obviously use one stick, and it's easy to do a lot from there, but having to use 2 sticks and slide all the time and being coordinated is a lot, but it's a learning process, and Chris is trying to teach me the basics, so it's good.
Ready to have some fun?
Yeah.
What do you want to work to start with?
Do some starts and then get into turning.
Perfect.
See how that is on this ice.
Yep, sounds good.
Boys, what's happening? Finally made it here. Getting better or what?
Trying to, yeah.
What's up, man?
My name is Kevin Rempel. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I played para ice hockey for now close to 11 years through the 2013 World Championships, where we won a gold medal, and bronze at the 2014 Paralympics in Sochi.
I'm making this video for Ryan Straschnitzki. Sorry, I don't know if I can do this without crying. I wanted to say, in memory of all your teammates and your staff who have passed away. Hopefully, someday I get a chance to meet you.
I wanted to make myself available if Ryan and his family were interested in chatting, so I recorded this video. I said, God willing, I'll put it out there. If it gets shared and then something happens, then that's great. And a lot of people shared the video and ended up reaching the family, so since then we've built a relationship and stayed in touch.
Tom, what's going on, buds?
Hey, what's going on, boys?
You.
One of the elements of our relationship that I would be most proud of is the input that myself and my friend had on Ryan and the family here as they renovated their house. So yeah, when Chris and I were here, having both of us live with a disability, or like in chairs, really, yeah, there's just so many different ways to like lay it out. They really like kept the space here looking homey. As far as accessibility goes in homes, like this is a dream. This is just a dream come true.
I haven't ever met a kid like him before. He just has this unbelievable attitude toward what he's doing and toward what's happened to him, and it's just this constant ability for him to move forward and overcome and persevere.
You know, more than anything, I'm definitely just excited to see Ryan continue to live a happy and healthy life. You know, on the ice, his dream is as much as it is my dream that I want to see him make Team Canada. I think that, you know, with the continued work ethic and time investment into the sport, that I think that there's a spot on the team there for him.
Determination is pushing through the hard times, not getting too frustrated with yourself. You know, if I wasn't playing any sports now, I honestly don't know what I'd be doing. So thanks to Kevin and Chris for introducing me to the sport and pushing me through it and mentoring me. So yeah, if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be right now. So the next time that life slams a door in your face and you feel like you're at rock bottom, I'm encouraging you all to remember that how hard you work is a mindset. Staying consistent and persevering is a mindset. And that learning from adversity and the low moments is also a mindset. That is what mindset is. And by adopting that mindset, not only will you be able to succeed, but you'll truly be able to see that when one door closes, another one opens. Thank you.
Hi, Ryan. I'm going to have a seat. Thank you so much. There were so many words that were inspiring. Your spark, your insight, your perseverance. Just so wonderful. So thanks for taking the time and to get to know you a bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah. You mentioned embracing the uncomfortable, the mindset you carry, the motivation, your support groups. Those are things that we can relate to as we work with people who live with pain, who live with disabilities. And I'm just wondering, us as healthcare providers from many different backgrounds, nurses, physicians, I'm a pharmacist, physiotherapists, and I'm sorry if I've missed many people. I'm just filled with lots of inspiration right now. So I have a question for you. The times that served you well, that went well, could you pass along some pearls to all of us today, Ryan? What went well for those interactions with the team members that you had in healthcare settings? Or maybe what didn't go so well, and you might have some advice for us.
Yeah, I think the positive experiences I had were when, you know, being in those situations where you got, you know, treated like a person, you have that connection, right? You have that sort of human experience where you're not treated like, you know, just a patient, right? They want to get to know you. They treat you with respect, right? You're a person at the end of the day. You're not just a piece of work, right? And so the positive experiences I had that sort of human connection and emotional ties, and really got to know each other. And you know, and some of the negative experiences have been, you know, getting brutally waken up at 3 in the morning to, you know, go through a medical routine, and you know, and it's not fun when you're, you know, as a kid, right? As a teenager, you're pretty grumpy about being up that early, anyways, but. Yeah, being woken up and sort of just treated like a you know, piece of work, right, is not always the most fun. So the positive experience I had were just having that human connection and just really trying to get to know each other and know what someone likes and dislikes, and just have that human touch, I guess.
Oh, that sounds really helpful. And I enjoy hockey. I'm from Prince Albert, so I'm a Raiders fan and got a chance to see many things. So I think this is intriguing me to watch a new sport in the near future. And so with that said, we can definitely continue our conversation, but we have a few more minutes for people who might like to step up to the microphone and ask questions of you, Ryan, and you know, just share more of their thoughts or have questions for you. So feel free to come on up, folks, if you'd like to ask a question of Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks so much for sharing with us today. I'm just wondering, obviously you went through a lot of trauma in your experience. How have you managed some of those pieces?
Yeah, I think, you know, aside from healing physically, mentally, it sort of weighs on you, and you know, there's only so much you can do as an individual. So one of the hardest things that I've had to do as a hockey player especially is try to open up, right, and try to talk to someone, and whether that was friends or a therapist or whatever it was, I had to actually talk and open up or start journaling or finding ways to get stuff off my mind. And right, growing up, right, being told to be tough and keep to yourself and work through it yourself is not always the best message you should get as a kid growing up, because that becomes instilled in your identity. So one of the hardest things I had to do was take that first step of opening up, whether that was something small like writing something or talking to someone or figuring out a way to get stuff off my mind was one of the hardest things. But as I continued doing it, like incrementally, it got better and easier, and felt like a weight lifted off, and I was able to be more open and show more emotion, I guess. So it takes time, it's a process, but taking that first step is always the hardest part.
Yeah, thanks so much. Does anyone else want to pop up to the microphone?
Ryan, I'm a mom. I want to adopt you, and I have a feeling many people here want to adopt you. You're such an encouragement. You're such... Thank you for inspiring us and for going beyond the limitations of what that accident did. And this is very personal, so forgive me for this, but I'm curious, come on. You've been doing a lot of the exercises about walking, number one. How far is that going? And I just like the fact that you didn't wait, okay, I'm not going to walk again, I'm going to switch, but still in your passion. That is just so incredible. And thank you for that. Now, considering that this is a pain, it's a pain conference, how has the healthcare system managed to steer you or use medications and other, I don't know, what did we call the one that was yesterday?
Non-medication.
Like the different things to handle pain and the possibility of addictions and use of opioids, and would you tell us what the secrets are? And like the possibilities of addiction to high drugs and all that kind of thing. Because I do believe you have been in a lot of pain, and to be able to even do those exercises and being able to smile like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, just share a bit of that
Yes,
from the pain end.
Absolutely. When I, after the initial accident, I just remember being in the emergency room and pressing that button for more morphine, right? I was in a lot of nerve pain. I mean, the level of my injury, right, went all the way down my triceps, and it felt like a consistent burning pain, right? And I couldn't explain it. I couldn't get rid of the pain. And in my mind, right, I'm trying to be tough and realizing that this isn't going to last forever, right? And just continuing to think like that, like suffer now and you'll be fine later, and kind of just having to put up with it. But yeah, definitely utilizing the medication that was provided and trying to do as much as I could, right, and try to do things to distract myself. So when I was healthy enough, right, I still was in a lot of pain, but I was able to exercise. I was able to talk and do the little things every day to make that pain go away or not think about it. But the biggest thing, and I believe I said this in an interview, was pain is only temporary, right, and really trying to tough it out. And I wish there were more solutions. I wish that didn't happen, but as a result of the injury, it's something that it just was, right? There's nothing I could do to fix it. Just realizing that every day it's going to get better. So, it took a bit of time, but being able to exercise and get my mind off of the actual pain was something that helped the process.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for sharing with us your experiences so far. I just want to key on to one of the things you said. As a young man, being woken up 3 o'clock in the morning, many of us would tend to fall into that category. What I've learned is to speak to my patients when I do my rounds in the morning. Would you like me to wake you up when I come around in the morning? Some will say, oh yeah, doctor, please go ahead. But very few will say, I'm not an early person. If you found me sleeping, please just allow me. And that has made a great difference in terms of, you want to do the routine, but for the patient, it's a different ball game. They think that you're being personal, you're being considerate, because perhaps sometimes, in the night, they probably didn't have good night's sleep. And just that morning, they're having a good night. Especially if there are no major problems. And in Alberta, in these days of Connect Care, If there are issues, they can send secure messages to you and things like that. So being able to identify and individualize our care for our patients, that lead to consideration can go a long way. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, like at night, when you have to get waken up in the middle of the night to, do something, right? Having that sort of personal connection once again, like, you know what, hey, I know this sucks, but, trust me, it's only gonna get better. I'm with you, I'm here to help. If, I'm just being considerate, right? And things like that. And I just remember some stories. I won't get into too many details, but I'm like, that looks painful, I'm not gonna do that, things like that where I have to learn to do it myself, and them just being considerate, thinking, you know what, I understand your situation, right? I'm here to relate with you and do what I can to help and not cause any more stress than you're already going through. So that personal connection helps a lot.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for taking the time out to come talk to us here. You are speaking to a group of people who see the world from one perspective of health and hope. When your accident happened, I remember vividly where I was. I actually was the one that brought my wife's attention to the news. I had a colleague who practiced in Humboldt at that time. So very quickly, I got that text. So I just want you to know that some people have connected with you vicariously, remotely, or whatever you call it, and been supporting you the whole time. So to see you in our conference, I used to be the president of this society years ago, it just warms my heart. You're talking to a bunch of clinicians, physios, occupational therapists, nurses, like people from all walks of life, researchers, students, residents. So the impact you're making today is tremendous. It's a seed that you sow, and it's going to go very far. Some of us see anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 patient contact visits per year, and we're going to carry this message to our practice population, and I want to thank you. I've always believed that pain is one of the most complex entities that has ever been laid upon man, and it comes in different forms. Pain can come in the one that you can conduct through nervous system and interpret through the processing computer up here. We call that a nociceptive pain. There's other kinds of pain. I want you to just give us a snapshot of what it's like to walk or come before a healthcare provider, any of us here. What we should see, what we should carry in our hearts as we provide care, especially in those initial stages where you needed courage. Courage is very simple, just getting things done in spite of pain of any kind. Mental pain, financial pain, nociceptive pain, name it. Isolation pain, you don't get it pain, that is a bit much pain, you're too loud pain from our migraine patients. How should healthcare providers approach people, clients? We don't like calling them patients, we like calling them clients, because then they can speak up when you don't treat them right. How should we approach them, and what kind of consciousness should we have in that human connectivity side? Thank you so much for your work.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think, you touched on it, the types of pain that you feel, right? It's not just physical, it's almost visceral, right? It's an emotional pain where it's almost hard to describe. Like, how does one describe an emotion and understand it from the other perspective as well? Like, you can't feel the same way, but the best thing you can do is just have that understanding. And I think a lot of us here, we're familiar with being good listeners, right? And truly listening to the patient side of things, letting them talk, letting them describe what they can to you, and trying your best to understand it, but not project onto what you think it is, right? Just listening was one of the biggest things. And I think that, puts a huge weight off the client's shoulders and allows them to, rant and work closer and closer to their goals. So it's one of those things where I wish I had the solution, but one of the biggest things that I found was when they were a really good listener is when things got easier and I was able to, not think so much up here and allow myself to just work hard and do whatever I had to do to recover and get better.
Thanks so much. We'll take one last question. Thank you, Madame.
Hi, I'm a para-athlete as well, and I'm just curious how you think your journey would have been different if your disability was not visible.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say, the what ifs. If none of this happened, I don't know what situation I would be in, but, I get this question. It's one of the hardest things is like, would you take it all back, right? And if none of this happened, I don't know where I'd be, but I'm in a position now where I'm doing what I can with what I have. And, whether that's all sorts of sports or being able to speak to you guys and just allowing myself to go down this different path is something I'm grateful for. And I try my best not to think about the what ifs or the past and just embrace the moment as it is right now. So, I appreciate the question. And I'm grateful for where I'm at and continue to work hard to where I want to be. So.
Thank you again on behalf of the Pain Society of Alberta. We're really excited to see what the future has to bring for you, and thank you for providing us with some very valuable and meaningful learning, and just really nice to get to know you more too.
Thanks for having me.
And feel free to stay for the rest or for a few more sessions if you're able to and love to. And yeah, we just really appreciate so much. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks everyone.